Greetings, opera lovers! Live from Pittsburgh, it's Rona. I was so lucky last night to be able to hear the live streamed performance from the Metropolitan Opera House of the season's debut of Die Flute. This is one of my favorite and least favorite operas ever. Favorite because it has some of the most beautiful music I've ever heard, and least favorite because there are so many parts of the opera, especially in Act 2, that I find boring. It also has quite a bit of speaking in it, and when it's done in German and you don't have any super titles to follow, it just kind of drags on. However, I was really interested in hearing this opera last night, mainly because I wanted to hear many of the singers whose careers I have followed for a long time and a debut artist. So let's get right into it. I'm not going to mention Tamino's entrance yet because he's a major player. I want to go over some of the minor players first. The three ladies were fabulous. They were Amy Shore Mount Obra, Renee Tatum, and Margaret Lattimore. They could have lead roles in other operas. What great singing for small but a very important part of the opera. Their ensemble work was just perfect. And I also liked that the conductor, Adam Fisher, was able to tease out of them so much subtlety in their phrasing. It really adds so much to the opera. Another set of trio singers are the three little boys who play the spirits. I'd like to mention their names. They were Connor Tsui, Sebastian Berg, and Andrei Gulick. You were so wonderful. They sounded like angels. Their voices were just pure boy soprano gorgeous. Their German seemed perfect to me. And I hope their mothers let them sleep in this morning because the opera ended kind of late, even though it started at 7:30. Going down the list of minor characters, I won't be able to mention everyone. Playing Monostatos was Mark Showalter. I've heard him many times. He's a real pro. He made the most of the small role. Another small role, who always has a lot of interest, is Papagena. And here it was played by Ashley Emerson. And she was one of the few disappointments to me in the evening because she only gets one wonderful duet. And her high notes just didn't ring out as much as I thought they could. However, let's give her time. I'm sure she's very young and has a bright future ahead of her. Continuing on with the roles as they sort of are in importance to the opera, Renee Papa did Zarastro. Usually I just wish those arias would just go away quickly because I'm just not a fan of them musically. But last night, I think it was the artistic and vocal high point of the evening to hear Mr. Papa sing in his glorious voice, his fantastic technique, and what he infused in the arias. They weren't just the words. He actually made you feel that he was the character. And although I couldn't see him, I just felt his gravitas, which he brings to everything. In fact, over the years, he is one of the artists who has never disappointed me. That's a lot to say. Now, although she doesn't have that much to sing, a big highlight of the evening is always the Queen of the Night. She gets those two iconic arias. She's on, she's off, over. And you either have those high Fs or you don't, and she had them. Her name is Anna Durlovsky, and she made her Met debut last night. I'm sure that's quite a nerve-wracking experience. She didn't sound nervous at all, although I did notice in her bio she has sung the Queen of the Night quite often. I don't know whether anybody else noticed, but right at the beginning of the aria, she didn't sing exactly what Mozart wrote. Not that it's such a big deal, it's just it surprised me. I thought her portrayal was properly fierce. She has what I would call a more dramatic coloratura sound rather than one of the lighter or thinner sounding Queens of the Night. Continuing on, with the true part of the three principles, Papageno was done by Markus Verba, a name I've seen, but I have not heard him before. I know many people really love him. He has a big career. Over the feed, it sounded a little wobbly to me, but I'm going to ignore that because electronic feeds are not always accurate. Certainly in the character department, he made Papageno come alive, even though I couldn't see him. Then we get to Tamino, played by Toby Spence. If you don't know this, Mr. Spence had surgery involving his throat a few years ago and lost his voice completely. It's an absolute tragedy when something like that happens. I have no idea how he rebuilt his voice so quickly, but he was just beautiful as Tamino. In the beginning of the aria, he comes in, he starts the opera, and right away he has to sing that very famous aria, Dies Bildnis ist bezaubernd schön. Pardon my German. And in my ears is always Fritz Wunderlich. So it's hard for anybody to match that. But you know what? He did great. And he sounded so young and fresh and ardent. I loved it. I think his voice is about as perfect as you can find for the role of Tamino. Light, lyrical, young, fresh, enthusiastic, a prince in every sense of the word. But I was really looking forward to this opera to hear pretty Yende do Pnina. I heard her step in on somewhat short notice to do last season's Le Conterie. I thought, oh my gosh, this is some major talent. And I'm happy to say that she is still a major vocal talent. I'm not sure that Pnina is a perfect fit for her. I think her voice is already actually large for the role. I'm used to hearing more silvery sounding voices. Even if their voices are larger, they're able to thin it down somewhat in the vein of lucha pop. But she did an absolutely wonderful job. There is a gorgeous voice. I'm so looking forward to seeing where her career takes her, because vocally she's just very gifted. And her voice was so rich and full in a way that Pnina's voice sometimes isn't. I was only disappointed in that in my ideal way of hearing Pnina, it's a little thinner sounding. And especially when she sings in the second act, where she says, Tamino mine. I love it to be so thin and pure, like a burst of sunshine. And instead it was just like, I don't know, like the oceans were parting. It was glorious in its beauty and breadth, but not the way I'm used to hearing it. Overall, the evening was a delight, and believe it or not, I was not bored. I guess I have to give the conductor, Adam Fisher, credit for that. At the end, the chorus comes out. It's not a big night for the chorus, but they sounded great as they always do. The orchestra sounded a little thinner than usual. Did they pare it down? I mean, I can't imagine them using the same amount of musicians for Wagner as they use for Magic Flute. So it must have been smaller, and it sounded that way, but it sounded very good. I've seen this production on DVD, not this production live, but I've seen Magic Flute live many times, and I have to say that vocally and musically, last night's performance was an excellent rendition, so bravo tutti, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. Have a great fall day.